Look, indeed, Lara. Look, the industry is still under massive strain. We're not back to full capacity. The industry is still being impacted by a new wave of COVID illness, which is causing big problems with absenteeism, for pilots, for air crew, for a cabin crew, for security staff at airports, for caterers, baggage handlers. All parts of the industry are impacted, and we still have a shortage of aircraft. They're still being processed. I mean, the A380, for instance, Qantas has got those aircraft coming back, but each one requires 4,000 man-hours to bring it back to a commercial commercial service. And there's a backlog of those aircraft to be brought back, because there's only a few places in the world that can do this sort of work. And so there are a lot of pressure points, and of course it's Christmas. It's always a very tough time to travel, and the demand is unprecedented. So there are a lot of pressure points, and unfortunately a lot of long queues and quite a bit of stress.
If we're still seeing demand, which is, as you say, being unprecedented, why are we seeing discounting by the airlines? Because you would anticipate that if demand's high, there wouldn't be some cost changes within that.
Look, a good point. Look, right now, when everybody wants to travel, yes, the fares are high, but go into February, March, April, when travel demand, abates to an extent, there are some really good deals out there. We've just had a big fare sale with Jetstar. I think it finishes tonight. Air Asia's out there with a big fare sale at the moment, which lasts, I think, a week or so. And then we've got Bonza coming, starting services, I expect, in February. So yes, the airlines are trying to have these special fares for the period, the non-peak periods, if you like. So it's a real mixed bag at the moment. If you plan well enough ahead, you're going to get some really good fares.
Is it going to be quite difficult for the airlines to ascertain where the equilibrium is? Because on one side, they're already getting peak demand. They're having sell-out on aircraft and also flight cancellations. But also on the other side, you'd anticipate that when that demand eases, you still want the people on there.
Look, indeed, it's a real fine balancing act. And they've got experts, backroom experts, who sort of look at all the trends and look at all the soft spots and the peak spots and adjust the fares accordingly, put more fares in the market at lower prices to simulate demand. Yes, it's a very fine line that they navigate, and it's going to be, I think, Lara, another 12 months before the airline industry really settles down to what we experienced pre-COVID, because there's so many factors that are uncertain. We've still got the Ukraine-Russian war, and that's having a massive impact on travel all around the world, fuel prices, shortages, and of course we've also got inflation that we're all dealing with, which are driving costs up as well. So it's a very turbulent time for aviation, and I think it's another 6 to 12 months before it really settles down.
As the new year begins, would you anticipate that there would be an increase of work-related travel, and therefore you could probably see maybe a bit of an easing in the price in the business class sector?
Yes, well, actually, that's a good point. Business class fares at the moment are actually lower than they were in 2019, and so is the normal economy fare is lower than it was in 2019. It's the best discount fare that's hiked up, and that's the one that we all go for. But yes, again, a lot of businesses, of course, are still saying, well, we'd rather do a Zoom call rather than face to face, because COVID's still around. We don't want to risk our executives getting COVID, so we want them to be working from home. So there are a lot of dynamics to this that still, it's still uncertain as to how it's all going to play out and what the new normal is going to be going forward.
And what about our flight routes? Where do you think the demand is at the moment?
Huge demand up to Queensland. New Zealand, of course, it's always been a very, very popular destination, and Tasmania. And then also Bali for Western Australians particularly, and then Fiji and the Pacific Islands for those on the east coast of Australia. What we're seeing is more and more people want to travel locally or within the region rather than long distances. Having said that, the flights at the moment to the United Kingdom and Europe are absolutely full. So there is still demand in that area, although we haven't seen the full capacity come back to Europe, and nor have we seen it come back to the United States. And another dynamic to this, Lara, is the US dollar. I mean, prior to COVID, the Australian dollar was very strong, and so a lot of people wanted to go to the US. Now it's changed, and the US dollar is very strong, so it makes the US less attractive. So again, it's what your money is going to buy, and people want to travel. So they say, well, that's too expensive. I'm going to go somewhere a little bit closer, like New Zealand. So I see short-range international travel as being and domestic travel are being the choices at the moment.